This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Good morning, Monday morning, and welcome to Open Line. I am back in the saddle after a couple of weeks of R&R. Here, along with the stalwart, the mainstay, David Williams, who holds down the fort while others sub in from time to time. And on that note, please, a round of applause for my friend and fellow longtime former journalist and current CBS mayor, Darren Bent, for his 2-week stint filling in while I was away. It was greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. So, yes, refresher, the numbers to call in the St. John's metro area, 709-273-5211, long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM 8626 otherwise. And yes, we will take your emails at openline@vocm.com. And I'd like to say I was able to completely check out and shut off and disconnect, which is advised in any business these days if you take some vacay. And I would suggest even more so in the news biz, the fire hose that it is. But you do so at your peril in the business. So I did my best to stay abreast of the goings on, and has happened to me too many times in my journalism career. The news found me while I was off, even while overseas in France. And look, I hate to start on a down note. I really do on my first day back, you know, in the spirit of, if you've been listening, of course, since about 2.5 months ago when I took over as host of this show, trying real hard to keep the show positive, good newsy. But I could not go anywhere, honestly, in the past week without someone asking me what I thought of Minister Barber's performance or lack thereof on the sacred ground that is Beaumont Hamel, or Beaumont Hamel. Those are the two ways to say it. So I mentioned before how much I was looking forward to my visit there, a seminal moment really for any Newfoundlander and Labradorian, and able to share it with my daughter, who was there with Shalloway, the youth choir, and their beautiful performance as they stood along the tops of the trenches with the regiment band, literally down in the trenches, as well as with my nephew who was there and a member of the Canadian Armed Forces. So many of us, and foreigners as well, there to pay the highest respects, really, for the loss of our own. And, of course, to always remember, never forget, and impress upon our younger generations, you know, shout out as well to the students and staff of Gonzaga who were there as well, who I ran into, just how significant all of this is, and still should be, lest we forget, right? So the event, the mood, the presence of leaders of other countries, the respect and the reverence they showed in their words and their proper pronunciations of words like Newfoundland. And we all know how we get our backs up when that's not pronounced properly. And yet, Beaumont Hamel, or Beaumont Hamel. So it's been 12 days now, and we still really don't know why the minister repeatedly mispronounced the two most important words she had to say there, words that most of us can say in our sleep, not to mention the numerous other flubs and mispronunciations during the 6-minute speech, which unfortunately felt much longer than that. And I was about 20 yards away from the minister when she was speaking. In between us, Princess Anne and all the other dignitaries from other countries, Turkey, Belgium, France. And I've listened and seen the comments from people who either saw the news reports or some of the videos. And no, you didn't have to necessarily be there to be offended by it, but it was so much worse if you were there, as I was. And so one can only imagine in that moment. And I honestly, I think it was just more shock and definitely embarrassment and confusion. Like, what is happening with the person representing our government, our province? Our Minister of the Crown. And that's really primarily what I want to know. How did this happen? So please, first and foremost, this is 12 days ago, Minister Barber, at the very least, we, those who were there that day, 12 days ago, and every other Newfoundlander and Labradorian, I would argue, we deserve some kind of an explanation, live, in person. You can call here, or you can call a media availability in the lobby of Confed if you like. I don't care. But if nothing else, just tell us what happened, why it happened. And then we'll have a better understanding, and we can all debate then whether an apology is even warranted. Was it the heat? It was hot. The sun was hot. There were people having some issues. I mean, it wasn't the heat wave that they're having, but the sun was very hot. It was a long afternoon. Then there's the travel. We all did the travel. We all dealt with the heat. And then there's the moment. Maybe it was nerves, given the time and the place, of course. Like, speeches like these on the biggest of stages are not easy, and they're far from, pre-recorded or edited social media videos. But again, the deafening silence and the avoidance, dodging the issue, only leads to further speculation and online chatter, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it's not going away, nor should it. I have to say, it was like, up until that point, it was all pretty overwhelming, as advertised, just to be there. And I was very much lost in reflection, trying to put myself right on that battlefield, hear the gunfire, imagine the shock and the fear that these kids, for the most part, really must have felt 110 years ago. But honestly, it suddenly just all turned to embarrassment. There's no other word for it. I make no apologies for saying that. Again, I was there. It's what I felt. And it took away from the moment, to say the least, for me and for others who saw me there in the media. There were a lot of other Newfoundlanders I recognized and saw there behind the media platform that we were all up on. And, many of them have since reached out to say the same. I've run into some of them on the street. People I've seen in the last week since I've been here, they, hoping, telling me not to let this go, not to let it fall out of the news cycle. And of course, I had no intention of letting that happen. It just doesn't get any more, and the word I keep coming back to is sacrosanct. Something that's just too important, sacred, or valuable to be messed with or flubbed over and over, let alone by a minister of the Crown. So what do we have to date? A statement from the Department of Tourism on behalf of Minister Barber, saying sorry to some who were disappointed. And of course, and also adding that this shouldn't be about her. Well, 1,000% it shouldn't, but unfortunately it is. She made it so. And then there's the one line from the Premier defending Minister Barber. One line. She acknowledges she made a mistake. She apologized for it. She's taken responsibility for it, and she will learn from it. Okay, but can she not speak for herself and say that herself as a capable cabinet minister instead of a statement written by staff or comms? Not on this issue, I'm sorry. Irregardless, none of that is good enough. Not from the minister, and certainly not from the Premier. Where is the leadership on this? It shouldn't be good enough for any Newfoundlander, really. It just doesn't equate with the magnitude of this failure. Again, poor leadership. This isn't so much about who did it either. It's about what happened. It didn't offend me as a man or a Liberal, as a Tory, as a New Democrat. It offended me as a Newfoundlander. And I know many others as well who were there and those who weren't there. So get past the biases. Call this what it was, an inexcusable, serious error by a Minister of the Crown on the world stage, no less. Like I and the others who were there, we marveled, we all did, at the respect and the whole pomp and circumstance shown by the highest officials from France and Belgium and Turkey and England, Princess Anne right there front and center, along with their own international media coverage, each of those countries, because this is significant for them. It's big. They take the sacrifice made by the Newfoundlanders very seriously. The news coverage of it was second only to the tragic wildfires in the south of France that week when I was watching the newscasts over there. They'd cover that and went right to these ceremonies at the Battle of the Somme. But after that display, I can understand why some of them might wonder how serious we take it. This wasn't some ribbon-cutting marketing announcement downtown. This was Beaumont Hamel, July 1st. We all know the danger of time passing and people forgetting the price that was paid. Can happen automatically as generations come and go. We know that. But we can't forget this one. And that's a strong message needs to be sent here. For our veterans first, and then for the rest of us second. Minister Barber should do the right thing and explain first what happened. It's long overdue. It's been a week now. I can't believe. I was searching all the other media looking for something where she just actually came out and spoke about this. But the prolonged silence will just lead to louder calls for something else, whether it's a resignation or for the Premier to do the right thing. At this point, I don't know what's more inexcusable, to tell you the truth. Was it the speech or the silence? So the government's getting comms advice from somewhere, and I'd suggest from somewhere up along where they might not quite get Beaumont Hamel like we do. Maybe that's the disconnect. Who knows? Regardless, we're just left to wonder, left to speculate, because neither the Premier or the Minister, transparency be damned, They should know better and should have done better and properly address and explain what happened here, lest we forget, right? Jeez, I really, as I said, I hated to. You know, I had a great little spiel on my Norway not making it to the semifinals of the World Cup, but, I remember, look, I was driving away. I rented a car while I was over there, and you have to drive to a smaller airport, and then a shuttle takes you to Beaumont Hamel, and all of us international media were on a bus, and it's all they could talk about. And it's all I could think about as we drove away. How horrific is that? I went for one, for that reason, the moment that we all talk about. Have you been to Beaumont Hamel? Have you experienced it? And I experienced it until. And that's it. And so, for anyone who was offended, there should be better respect paid for all of us. All Newfoundlanders should have been offended by what happened. So, and honestly, the emotion, the realization hits you on the way there. The landscape leading to Beaumont Hamel. And then while Princess Anne was speaking, you look around and armed paratroopers are all in the field. They're all in the battlefield for security reasons, but just seeing the soldiers lining the battlefield like that, even for a different reason, was another moment, And again, as I said, the choir upon the trenches and on and on and on. And it was hot, but not unbearable. Like the sun was pretty hot that day. And of course, the visit to the danger tree, which was right there, and all of a sudden a large Hercules just came in low and loud and right over our heads. All of that was incredible. But unfortunately, it all was taken away. It really was. It's sad that wasn't what I was thinking about as I drove away. What I was thinking about was what happened. And it was inexcusable. And again, we just need an explanation to start. And then we'll decide if it should be an apology or whatever. But at least explain. Come out, talk about it, tell us what happened. You should be able to do that. I'm sure it would happen, if it was election time, who knows? But sometimes that's what forces the hand. So, so there's lots more on the bone, of course, that we can talk about here this morning. I had a slew of stuff. The World Cup, obviously, the semis are set. We can talk about the Jays. We can talk about BP and Equinor. I was going to say, that Tor Loseth, my sympathies to Tor Loseth and the Equinor crowd, Norway, who I picked, didn't make it on through. I really thought that they were going to be the sleeper team. So speaking of our Norwegian friends, congrats on a great World Cup to our Norwegian friends. They were one well-oiled machine up until Saturday, pun intended. And ironically, ready for it, Dave? They ran out of gas. Sorry. Trying to lighten the mood here a little bit. So, yeah, the semis are set. And one thing I will say about the World Cup, there's a lot of new eyes, fresh eyes on football, the world on soccer, not necessarily around these parts. We've got a very healthy sport in this province, no question. You look at the South Coast and the history of the Laurentians and everyone else. Look, we know our soccer, we know our football here. But for people who are just kind of really tuning in and not really understanding, a better explanation of some of the things that happen in soccer could be, even just the human speed bump behind the wall on a penalty kick. Someone said to me, why is there a person lying down on the ground behind the wall? Well, that's because when they jump, the best players can shoot the ball underneath the wall. So now they figured out they put a human speed bump there, and that takes that away. And there's lots of other issues, the calls, the red cards, the trump card. We could talk about that as well. There's just not enough time. But I had to get that off my chest this morning, as requested by many people in the past week since I've been back. And I really expected something before now. So the fact that there was no other attention paid to this by the government, something more formal, was really disappointing. Not as disappointing as what I witnessed over there, but there you go. Anyway, I'm going to take a breath. That was a lot to start the show, and after a 2-week break. But we'll get into it. And looking for your phone calls. I gave the numbers off at the top. The big voice will give them away again. We got a couple of calls in the queue, but we're looking for yours on any topic that you may prefer, and we are open to it right here on Open Line. We'll be right back.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
As I've always said, the callers are the priority, and we're going to go to one, a well-known one, I would suggest. Jen Dion, you're on line number 1. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hi there, Brian. And yeah, I'm sorry to stick my nose in, but, there's so much going around, and I just wanted to make sure that this thought is captured about the minister's fall down at Beaumont Hamel. I want to remind listeners of the movie The King's Speech, right? Mm-hmm. There have been many people in power who public speaking is not a natural skill. And it isn't for many people. It is a skill that needs to be trained and cultivated and practiced. There very well could be deficits involved, absolutely. But I guess I would just bring this round to, this is not about so much the minister mm-hmm. as a system surrounding her that is not supporting her. Mm-hmm. If I was, I've worked in communications my whole life, there's no way that we would have sent one of our executives or ministers out for a speaking opportunity without the necessary training and supports that they needed in order to fulfill that in the way that they needed to. Mm-hmm. So I guess I feel like that is the greater issue, not so much about the individual, but about the system that didn't support her to ensure that she had all the training that she needed. I mean, she's the Minister of Tourism, Culture, and Arts. And our arts community has 1 million people mm-hmm. who could be hired to come in and coach and support somebody in order to do public speaking. And I just really hope that is the takeaway from this for all ministers, that they undergo that training and are supported. Maybe you need somebody on site with you just before you hit the stage who is coaching you and, giving you all of that. It's just such an easy fix is all I really wanted to say. And I just don't see why somebody didn't think of that beforehand.
Yeah, and we're left to assume a lot of things, Jen. We're left to assume that there wasn't any preparation, or that maybe there was. Maybe she read it fine before hitting the stage and it went okay. And then the moment, I don't know. And people are bombarding me with, oh, how could you, attack her speech, her learning disability? Who said the minister has a learning disability? I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know. But it would be lovely to talk to the minister.
That is absolutely her private business.
Yes, and I'm not even bringing that up, right? I mean, look, that's someone else. I'm just pointing out the fact that people are making a lot of assumptions. And my point is, the one thing the minister can do is speak to it and explain it. Somebody sent me nothing to explain by obviously this. I'd just like to know what went wrong. Why did it go wrong?
Yeah, again, I am hesitant
not her, but the issue.
To land all of this mm-hmm. on the feet of one person when I feel that there is an institution that really needs to be looking at this from a team perspective mm-hmm. and maybe speaking on behalf of the government as opposed to just one person. Yeah. Because you're right. I think it is very easy to throw one person under a bus for a mistake. When I feel that it should be a failure shared by the entire institution, and a chance to just say, here's how we're going to do better.
Yep, I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all.
Great. Okay, yep. Those are just my thoughts.
No,
Thank
I
you.
Appreciate it, and thanks for the respectful nature of it, because, not all of what I'm getting here this morning is anywhere near it. So, and Jen, of course,
there you go. You know when you stick your head out of the foxhole, my dear.
Oh, I do. And I mean, look, I've been with you and your father, who had passed, of course, at the War Memorial over the years, interviewed him in my time, so I certainly am aware of your personal connection as well, but I appreciate the thoughtfulness of it and your call. Thanks, Jen. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go to line number 1. And Chris, you're on the air.
Good morning. How you doing, Brian?
Pretty good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right, thanks. I'm just calling in to give my perspective on the Andrea Barber supposed gaffe, I guess. I got a question now. I'm trying to find the actual video of her speech, and the only thing I can find online is a 2-minute clip of her mispronouncing Valor and Beaumont Hamel. And I mean, I'd really like to see her full speech, mm-hmm. and I'm wondering how many people actually seen the full thing. because, social media and clickbait, I mean, there's a 40-second video there, and how many people are watching that and thinking, oh, she's no good, that's it, and they didn't even listen to what she said. So, like, how long was her actual speech?
It was 6 minutes long. Give or take 20 seconds, I'd say. It was just after 6 minutes, I think.
All right. So you're saying that, like, someone's telling you to keep this in the news? Like, someone's telling you to keep this going? You said it earlier there in your preamble. Like, who's telling you to keep this fresh?
While I was there, I would say, I'm not going to exaggerate, there was between a half dozen and a dozen people walked past me at the end wondering if they heard what we all heard, and just bewildered, wondering what happened. And as I got back...
That's not what I asked you.
No,
I'm not...
I know.
Sorry, go ahead. My apologies.
That's okay. I'm not finished. So that was there, and I've been back a week. I got back last weekend. And whether I was downtown on the Ped Mall, whether I was out socially, whether I was got text or whatever, I've just had people, such as the veteran who called a few moments ago, wondering why there has been no explanation as to what happened and only 2 statements, and not wanting me to just not mention it and bring it up. And I was never not going to anyway. I was there, and I was embarrassed. I'm not laying it all at the feet of the minister. What happened embarrassed me. I'm trying to make this really clear, but people don't seem to be hearing me.
Yeah, I understand fully what you're saying. So, yeah. That's okay. But so, did you feel shame?
Shame. I was embarrassed. I was in the moment. I was standing there. I was trying to picture everything that happened 110 years ago, which is why you're there. You're trying to really appreciate the loss and the devastation for our province, the moment in history. And so traveling there, no small travel, you're standing there, you're trying to be in the moment, you're trying to, in your mind, just really get in the moment and think about what happened. But this speech just, and this was our speech on behalf of Newfoundlanders. And look, every trip up, every flub, every time mispronounced Beaumont Hamel, it took me out of the moment. I could not get past that. So it affected me.
I got a question for you, Brian. Where did you grow up to in Newfoundland?
In the west end of St. John's, down by Barring Park.
West End. I could tell you're from town because you don't have an accent. Andrea Barber's from St. Anthony.
I know.
And Newfoundland is not.
We're all
just
Newfoundlanders, right?
Everyone speaks. We are, but we don't all talk the same. You go down the southern shore and you feel like you just went across the Atlantic over to Ireland.
Absolutely.
So our question now: how much of Andrea Barber, when she was there, was she dedicating her injury to hiding her own authentic self?
I don't know.
Accent.
I would love to know.
Probably a good bit. Because that St. Anthony is St. Anthony, and I work with people from up there, and I'm telling you right now, she has a strong natural accent. She's from Newfoundland and Labrador, so do you think that she should have to hide her full accent in order to appease the rest of the world, or should she be there to honour the people who died in Beaumont Hamel?
Well, it wasn't about an accent. For starters,
an accent. I'm just saying, I'm making a point.
Yeah,
we're all holding her to the standard of perfectly pronouncing all the words. And I know she's a public servant, but I got a question for you. How many of the men, and maybe women, I don't know, who died over in Beaumont Hamel, do you think could properly pronounce all the words in the dictionary? How many of them do you think could pronounce valor? How many of them do you think actually graduated high school? They were boys. And we're here fighting over whether or not Andrea Barber pronounced a few words right. You're completely distracting.
Not fighting over anything?
I don't think you make an awful stir over. I got another question for you.
Yep.
How do you spell valor?
V-A-L-O-U-R, depending on the Canadian or American spelling. Or it's O-R.
Exactly. I know it's good. I didn't expect you to know that.
The same. Well, 30 years by, give me some credit. But look, I know.
No, but I mean, there's 2 different spellings, right? Like V-A-L-O-U-R and V-L-O-I-V-A-L-O-R.
But they're both pronounced the same way.
They're
both pronounced the same way.
But isn't that a bit confusing, though? And I'm not saying she shouldn't have, worked that out. I'm just saying that isn't that little nuance of the English language that's unnecessary that might trip a few people up?
It might. I mean, if you have a speech that you're going to do in front of Princess Anne and the highest officials of Belgium and France and Turkey at Beaumont Hamel on July 1st, I just don't know how you make those mistakes on the grandest of stages,
I I got a question for
and
you.
I don't
What's
know how.
the grandest of stages that you've done your public speaking, not as a journalist, not as interviewing someone? What's the grandest stage that you got up on and presented a written speech to? What's the most high status delegate that you've ever had to read to or present to?
That's a good question. I'd say the Canadian Bar Association back in the late 1990s when I won the Excellence for Journalism for Justice Reporting. And I had to do it in front of the Canadian Bar Association, a lot of judges, a lot of lawyers. That was a bit nerve-wracking. I got through it because I prepared for it. I don't know what the comparison is other than the fact that, I don't know what the comparison is. As I've said, I don't know what happened here. I just want to know, Chris. That's all I want to know.
Well, the comparison is that you're saying that you should have been perfect, but you, first of all, immediately
Who said I should have been perfect? Wait.
Well, okay, all right. So why is she being held to that standard?
She's not. I think she's being held to the highest.
Sounds like she is.
I think she's being held to the highest standard because she is a minister of the Crown who is there representing all of us at Beaumont Hamel on July the 1st. That's my statement.
She's over there to give, not thanks, but to remember the people who died. Like, she's not there to remember you.
I didn't say that. I said she's there to represent. I think you need to listen. All I said was she was there.
But she's not representing just Newfoundlanders. More importantly, it's the people who died and gave their lives back there. And then, yes, she represents us, everybody as a whole.
Yeah.
But is not the point of the ceremony to remember those who were part of the event on that hill?
That's what it's all about.
What's that?
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. Well, it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like everybody's getting worked up into a tizzy over a Newfoundlander who has an incredibly strong accent, who's put up in front of the highest level of royals, and is being expected to drop the accent and put on an act and be somebody else. I guarantee you she's not so nervous if she's there hanging out and having a conversation with her own people, because she can put on the accent. She can be her authentic self, right?
Yeah, no,
so
Chris, I agree. I agree. The problem is we don't know because she won't talk about it.
No, that's all right, but maybe it's
not all right.
Incredibly
no, it's not all right. She should talk about it, shouldn't she? Don't you want to hear from her personally rather than make all kinds of assumptions and wonder what happened? That's a simple question.
Yeah, for sure. And
okay.
I also don't think that everyone should be on a witch hunt right now. It sounds like, it's the worst dishonor that ever happened in the history of Newfoundland and Labrador. And I can't even get a video of her full speech. All I can get is a 40-second clip that was admittedly posted by a Liberal supporter on social media. You know what? If VOCM is a responsible news outlet, or NTV or CBC, you'll post the full speech. Let people actually watch it.
The government has it
online.
The government has it. They're more than welcome to post it. I don't have it. We don't have it.
They should then. Well,
Agreed.
Somebody should, because most people here now are judging her based upon 40 seconds of a social media clip. That doesn't seem very responsible. Like, everybody's talking about protecting the youth on social media and misinformation, and here we go. All we got is a 40-second clip, and I'm supposed to judge her on that alone?
Agreed.
I don't think
no, you're not.
Fair, I think.
Agreed. 100% agreed, Chris. You're not supposed to judge on that. If you listen to my preamble, that's the problem we have. It's all we have to go on. And all the stuff that you're talking about, you're absolutely right as well. The stuff that's online, the hate, and the wardrobe. I didn't mention anything about her wardrobe. I don't care what she was wearing. It's not about that for me. It was about what I felt in the moment when that was happening. And I can feel that way. No one can tell me differently. If you weren't there, you don't know the feeling.
No.
And I'm not saying you personally.
I'm not going to discount
but I agree
your
with you.
feelings.
I agree with you 100%. This could all be cleared up if we could just hear from the minister.
And you know what? I think it's also important to remember that she is a human, and most people who would have been put in that position probably would have been a bit nervous. And you're saying, I've heard you say several times, it's one of the most important days in Newfoundland's history, or something along the lines of that. I mean, maybe the Premier might have should have been there. No, maybe the Premier might have should have been there.
Yeah, I think he should have.
It is one of the most important days. Like, probably, if it's that important of an event. But I don't know. I think it'd be a bit helpful for people to actually be able to see the speech. And maybe just remember, we're all humans, and she probably represents her own people very well with her own accent. But to be thrown over there in front of a bunch of royals, I mean, I know I'd be choking on my own tongue up there, but I don't think the merit of her character and her integrity should be based upon her. Maybe, she did stumble with some public speaking, but I think everyone should have access to the full speech so you can listen to the content of what she said, as opposed to judging her with struggling on, pronouncing a few words, which probably might be extra difficult for someone having whatever dialect they had in a certain part of Newfoundland. So, remember, we're all people here, and the important thing is to remember the people who gave their lives and who died And it's awfully distracting to just hear people, fighting, saying, she should lose her job because she mispronounced Beaumont Hamlet or Valor. Like, I don't get that. And I think they should post a video so everyone could watch her speech and listen to the words as opposed to getting stuck up with people not perfectly pronouncing everything that they're going to say.
I'd be 100% for that. Yeah. No, Chris, listen, I really appreciate the call. Without calls like yours and others and other views, we have nothing here. So thank you very much.
No, I appreciate your time, bro. Take care.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go to line number 2. Janet, you're on the air.
Hi. I'm calling I'm in the town of Gander, and I'm in a brand new subdivision, and I've been having issues with excessive stormwater.
Okay, so we were 2 out of 3 there. We were doing pretty good, but now, okay, so go ahead.
Oh, it's excessive stormwater, and this has been going on for 2.5 years. Getting the town out, looking at it, and there's like, oh, well, this will resolve itself as houses develop and houses develop. Long and short of it, the entire street is getting flooding water now, stormwater. The town is refusing to meet with us. I've reached out to the government. The government is now, we've requested meetings with the Honourable Chris Tibbs. We begged, literally begged. And we're still waiting to hear. I can't say he's not doing anything. I've been advised that they are looking into some things, but not one person from the town of Gander, who's an elected official, or have sat and spoke with all of us, the residents. And we're talking about a whole street.
And yeah, so Janet, first of all, now I just want to be clear about the wording. So when you say the town has refused to meet with you, you've asked them and they have replied and said, no, we will not meet with you?
We had a 10-minute, they gave me a 10-minute meeting.
Okay, so there was...
There was a meeting scheduled, 10-minute meeting during lunch hour. I asked them, could they reschedule it? Because, this impacts people's work day and people who's diabetic, medical conditions, etc. And I put in during that, they said, no, this is the only time frame. I was like, okay, well, we'll figure it out. Then I put in an appeal through the Municipalities Act against a piece of property. And after I put in that appeal, I got a letter from a town lawyer saying your meeting's canceled.
So you're thinking because you made another issue of something related or unrelated or maybe semi-related, they held that against you? You're making that allegation?
Well, that's what the letter said. The letter stated that we're canceling your meeting because you put in an appeal. So
is that because the meeting would be inconsequential given the appeal, or is it because they felt slighted because you went and did this? I just want to be clear. I don't know.
I would say slighted because the appeal is partially impacting the issue, but is not the whole issue. The issue is much larger.
But it's possible they just said, look, we can't meet while your appeal is ongoing. I mean, that happens all the time. But I don't know. I'm only asking.
No, I don't foresee that because the appeal had to do with a variance.
Janet, how many houses are we talking? How many residents?
We're talking over 18 residents. Houses.
Okay. And this is the new subdivision. What's the name? This does ring a bell now. I was trying to catch up on so much news last week. Yeah. And I do remember seeing something. I know that I've checked with the newsroom. They don't know of anything directly related to this. So any more information you can give me, go for it.
Sure. This has to do with the Eastgate development, brand new development in Gander. I will advise you that I did have the developer came on scene once I start in the beginning. And the developer, it came out. He did a LiDAR, the big 3D thing. I'm not an engineer, but they come out with the LiDAR. He got all the gear, did the big thing. He said, now I'm going to, in his words, when he looked at it, he said, this is wrong. You shouldn't be having this. We've had to dig up our own property, and put ditches around our property so we stop flooding. We had a sandbag party. Our properties are all protected by sandbags right now.
So he's suggesting that the site surveys may have been off, or was it referring to
grading? The grading.
Okay, gotcha. Yep.
The grading is the issue with the grading, and he said the town would meet. He was going to meet with the town, then the town would meet with me. He couldn't say no more. The town would represent it to me. I had a meeting with the town. This is before everybody joined on. I was just an individual because I didn't realize that everybody was impacted at the time.
Fair enough.
And from that meeting, I was told, oh, no, we're not here to present. You are. I'm like, what? I was told you were here to present what you're going to do to resolve the issue. And they I'm going to say, it said they knew not, play dumb, that they told me they were not aware of any meeting of the developer.
Was there any kind of correspondence between you and the town that said, here's what we're going to talk about at this meeting?
Yes, the way the meeting came off was that they were going to present to us the assist and review with us, assistance to resolve the matter of stormwater. I have everything in email, and every time I've had a conversation with them, as per recommendation, I've always had someone else present, so that there's not a he said, she said thing.
That's a good way to cover. I mean, you should in any kind of correspondence like that.
I have to.
And what's the latest with Chris Tibbs, your MHA?
The latest with Chris Tibbs, I originally had a letter from his department that said that's a town matter, because when Honorable Krista Howell was in there, she gave the towns, municipalities more legislation, like more control.
Yes, and I should have said Chris, the minister, right? Yes.
Yeah. And but anyway, so Chris, I had one letter from him a while back that turned around and said, deal with the town, pretty much not getting involved. I have a copy of that letter, but I didn't give up. I kept reaching out. I got ended up speaking to another representative from his department who turned around and told me, go ahead and sue him. Then I was like, no, this is not right. I believe in the system. I'm a political science major. This is what I've studied. This is not right. I don't believe in this. This is how it's going to be. So I reached out and I spoke to another one of the staff who's like, I'm here to listen. And he's been listening to our concerns. He's been documenting our concerns, and he's been bringing it forward to Chris Tibbs. Now, the only thing is, it's up to Chris Tibbs to make that decision.
Yep.
And we've heard nothing back other than we're documenting everything. I've been keeping. They're doing their investigating, because I've proven to them. I've sent them documentation to show that the town of Gander is not following the Municipality Act, not following regulations, not doing anything that they're supposed to in regards to what's going on here.
And are we talking damages to homes and that sort of thing? Like, are we talking damage to homes at this point? We caught it before it went into the properties. Janet, look,
and that's what, and they told us. I will tell you that a town representative, a town staff advised us in my initial meeting before everybody joined on. Told me go through insurance. I'm like, no, this is not about insurance. We're trying to stop this so it doesn't become an insurance thing. This is taxpayers money you're wasting.
Yep. Janet, only because it's almost 12. I got to squeeze in one more caller. Can you keep me abreast of what's going on here? And of course, the minister.
Most definitely. Yeah. Most definitely. I'm hoping to be on the news soon, and I'm getting other parties involved. But it's not. We're not going away. This is our homes. This is our fortune. And when you got to watch it, tears coming in an 86-year-old man because the water's up to his shins coming towards his house, and the town comes out and says there's nothing we can do, there's something wrong.
Yeah, there has to be something someone can do. Janet, thank you for the call.
And I got video and everything. Okay.
Hold on to it and stay in touch, okay?
Okay, most definitely.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Just very briefly before we go to Clyde, another email just referring to the last caller, Chris, and makes the point that, there is a big difference, and I did make it once, but I didn't want to pile on, but there's a big difference between having an accent and pronouncing a word correctly. So, we all have accents. I might have a more towny accent than somebody around the Bay. That's fine. But I'm pretty sure we'd pronounce Valor the same way. I mean, it might sound different, but it's the same pronunciation. There's a big difference between an accent and pronunciation. Let's go to line number 3, and Clyde, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning. Welcome back, sir. I'm calling from Bjorn Peninsula again here in Rock Harbour, and the thing, what bothers me, I'm not getting no answers either. It's on a project that was supposed to happen here on Bjorn Peninsula, do the paving and road upgrades, which the government has the budget cut this year, and as far as I know, we only got the one project so far up here on the Bjorn Peninsula this year, and last year we had 3 or 4 on the go there, because I work with one of the companies there as a flag person, and I know the ins and outs of it all, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, last year there was tenders put out to do, it's called Black Brook. It's going to the hospital in Bjorn. It comes from Marystown, goes into Bjorn, really.
Right.
And it's one of the busiest highways we got there, and plus that's where the ambulance, everybody here on Bjorn Peninsula, down this side of that, got to depend on the ambulance to go through there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the tender was there, and I keep asking our MHA, Jeff Dwyer, about it, and he said he was sure to hear something soon. But, I mean, here we are, into the middle of July. And like I say, it affects everybody there. I mean, you know, one of these ambulances is a heavy vehicle, and she got the big springs, and you go over these ruts, and you're going to the hospital to try to get well, and not be beat up on the way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And some might say you got one on the go, one project. That's one more than a lot of communities got this year. And as you said, you had...
Not community. This is the whole Bjorn Peninsula.
Yeah, right.
20,000 people.
Yeah.
18,000 people. I mean, last year they cut the budget, and last year we had, with this company I'm with now, they had 3 or 4 different projects. Actually, we had so much on the go that it was a bit late when they got it done, but now they're there with list work, and the Premier did say when he announced about the roads that he was going to go to work and try to get the contractors that was closest to the
right.
work.
I remember that.
And get them, and I tell you, the paving facility they have here is 10 minutes away. The asphalt plant is 10 minutes away from where I'm speaking about the road needs to be done.
What's the specific tender, like from where to where? Is that the Spanish Room one?
No, this is a whole different kettle of fish I'm talking about now.
Okay.
Well, we did get a little bit of patching done out here, but this is a different one I'm talking about now.
Okay.
This concerns us all. Up, I'd say it's probably 3 or 4 kilometers or so, right?
Between where and where?
It's from Kristen.
Yep.
Up to Bjorn. You goes into Bjorn. You leaves Marystown,
Yes.
goes into Bjorn.
On the way down to Smuggler's Cove.
On the other side.
On the way down to Smuggler's Cove.
Yes, right on. You got it now. Yeah, he is. Like I say, the hospital is there, and all the communities up above that, like St. Lawrence, Bjorn, and Lewis Cove, all them. They got depending on the ambulance and stuff too, and all us down below, right?
Yep.
The thing is, this tender was put out, and then it was called back. I can't get no answers. Boy, this road is not being done. When we got a company here now, waiting for them to get more. If they got to put out the tender, they already had it, and get this work done. There's no.
And times
the highway is really easy to do because there's no driveways or nothing there hardly, and there's not many pipes to go across the road, and there's 0 guardrails.
And the clock is ticking.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get through there. And like I say, I only get the phone in every now and then. I go back to work in tomorrow for 10 days now with this company. And
right.
like you say, they need a contract there when we need to work. There's over 50 people works at this company. You know, that puts a few coppers back into it.
Oh, my God, absolutely. Did MHA Dwyer give you a timeline, like when he thought he could, not necessarily tell you when work's going to be done, but when he can get back to you even?
The only thing he said the last time he messaged me back was hoping for something soon. Well, soon is here as far as I'm concerned. And I talked to a lot of people. I'm one of them people that if I met you in the mall somewhere, I don't know you, but I'll probably say hello to you, bid you good day, right?
Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of people. A lot of people was in the dark on this situation. They figured it was going to be done. It needs to be done. The money was there, where it went to, and the contractor's here to do it. So, I mean, what's the problem?
Well, once again, this one comes down to a bit of communication. Just tell us what's on the go. Is it going to be done?
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, I would say by now, mid-July, they're not at the point where they're assessing whether or not they're going to do projects. They've got the ones in the bag, what they're going to be able to complete and what they're not. So a little bit of transparency, a little bit of communication. I don't know what the issue is here because it's the first time we've spoken about this issue.
Yes.
But certainly,
yeah, you were gone, yeah.
But you know, you've been in touch with MHA Dwyer. That would have been your go-to, so at least for your first point of contact. After that, it's the minister. But you know, that's where the buck stops right now.
The minister has been more vocal than the Premier himself so far since he got in there. Barry Pettin is his name, the one Minister of Transportation.
Yes, sir.
He's always coming on and saying this and that, but I mean, get the work done. The money was there, and the money should still be there. And you got the company up here that needs to work, so. You know, it was a win-win if you mind to go ahead and do it. It shouldn't be no big deal. Like you said, you're looking for answers from Beaumont Hamel and that, and you can't get them. I mean, it's frustrating, right?
Yep, on any topic, really. We were promised a lot of transparency and openness, and But from the MOUs to Bay Nord to everything else, it's all very quiet. As I said, the government, it's an iceberg. There's 10% of it
I'm going to call them
above water.
I'm going to call them the cancel government. Just to keep it up, but I'm going to leave you now. We went to habitat, so I'm going to leave you with a good habitat. And
Thank
then
you.
we'll
Good.
let them take care of it all. Anyway, when we're traffic control people right on the highway there, we're doing a project at Little Bay in Marystown now. And anyway, the other day, we had to put people in around the parking lot to come out. And this younger lady with a child aboard, she didn't read the sign right, and she went on through, right, the wrong way.
Right.
And you know what she done? She went home. She said she felt so bad about it. She wrote up a little note about a page and drew a picture, and that her little daughter did, and she brought it back to us and apologized.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
so frame that.
Wonderful.
Frame that, Clyde.
Yes, because you get people that go through your stop signs and don't, but this is... We still got the letter. I gave it to my foreman and told him to bring it up in the next safety meeting.
Consideration, right? People are people. There are good people. There are considerate people with a conscience out there. But we know they're not too, and I don't need to tell you as anyone that's been on those construction scenes.
No, Clyde? I've been at this for a while now.
Oh, listen.
Like we just want a few answers. The contractor's there. I talked to the head of the contractor. He was up to visit us, and I asked him, and he said that they haven't gotten nothing on the books for that, and they haven't got that much work, so let's see if we can get some headway on this soon. Yep.
Shout out to MHA Dwyer, either to yourself or to me. Give us an update.
Thank you very much. You're doing a good job.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's welcome now to the program Antoine Normandin with the Royal Canadian Geographical Society Research Lead for this heroic age expedition. Of course, they're surveying the wrecks of the Quest in the Labrador Sea and the Terra Nova, I believe, now just south of Greenland. Welcome to the program, Antoine.
Thank you.
Well, I guess a $1 million question. Where are you, right now?
Right now, we're just off the coast of Greenland surveying Terra Nova.
So off the coast, would this be directly to the south, like the southern?
Yes, at the very tip of Greenland, a few miles off the tip. So it's absolutely incredible. We got sights of the landscape. We're not far from shore. It's an exceptional location.
Tell me about the Terra Nova.
So the Terra Nova is a ship that was built in Scotland in 1884, and she was then used as a whaler and eventually as a sealer out of St. John's, actually, in late 1800s, before she was purchased by the Royal Navy and used as a relief expedition to rescue an expedition party that had been stranded in Antarctica. She then came back to Newfoundland service for a few years before then being used by Robert Falcon Scott for his expedition to reach the South Pole. Unfortunately, Scott was unsuccessful. He died in the attempt, and the ship was still used as a scientific vessel during that time for 3 years by the Royal Navy to really survey Antarctica. And then she came back into service in Newfoundland, and she served as a seal hunting vessel and a merchant vessel for 30 years out of St. John's.
So have you gotten good images of the Terra Nova? I mean, I know that you had problems with the Quest when, I don't know if it was a total surprise, but unfortunately it was completely, in some ways, obscured by a lot of fishing nets and that sort of thing. How's your luck with the Terra Nova?
Yeah, so Quest, no, it was a surprise for Quest that we found fishing nets. Unfortunately, they were not over some of the more historically significant pieces of the ship, so we're still able to do a pretty good survey. But Terra Nova is in a very different shape, in the sense that the ship itself is actually split in half across the bow. She's split open either due to decay or during the sinking, which means she's an open book, so we can see the inside of the ship. We can comprehensively survey the interior of the ship, and there is no man-made damage to the wreck since her sinking. So it's absolutely incredible. And diving conditions here are exceptional. The visibility is good, and we're getting incredible footage with our high-resolution cameras that we'll be able to share with the world in a few weeks.
Okay, you just answered my next question when you said a few weeks. So, I mean, obviously you're trying to create a digital record and these sorts of things. I'm interested in shipwrecks. It's not it fascinates me to some extent, but what gives it the extra oomph for you?
I think it's the sheer story of the ship. I mean, it was a storied ship with the Royal Navy in various expeditions. It was also a mercantile ship out of St. John, so it tells that side of the story as well, the naval history of Newfoundland and strong connections to the North Atlantic. And these things were the closest thing to, our closest vessel to a space shuttle at the time. Going to Antarctica was remarkable. It was unknown. Oh. They didn't even have images. It was greater than going to the moon in some senses. They didn't know what they were getting into. So these vessels are absolutely incredible, and they're worth sharing with the world. And we have exceptional documentation as to how the vessel was built, what she was built of, and we can actually study the decay. So beyond its historical value, it's a fascinating element on essentially cultural heritage preservation, as well as the way it behaves as an artificial reef. And it's abound with wildlife. It's superb to see. There's anemones, there's colors. We're in the Arctic Ocean. We're essentially in the Arctic Ocean in some senses. But looking at the images, you'd believe you're almost in a tropical space.
Yeah, I wonder how the ecosystem must have just gelled around it completely, and it's become, just its own little system there. I wonder, too, this is like, a 3-week expedition out of Woods Hole, right, Massachusetts. Why did you choose these two particular wrecks?
They're intricately linked. So when I mentioned the relief expedition by the Terra Nova, it was to relieve an expedition that was headed by Scott, who later commanded the Terra Nova in his attempt to reach the South Pole. But it was also a man called Shackleton aboard, a very famous polar explorer, for his survival journey. And so the Quest was Shackleton's last command. He actually died of a stroke aboard the Quest on his, of course, final expedition, Grieg Viken, in 1922. So we're surveying Shackleton's final ship, and we're surveying Scott's final ship, and there were somewhat rivals in their day and age, but there were also comrades in arms during their first expedition to the South Pole. So it's fascinating to see these two wrecks, and they're very different in their build and their environment as well. So we'll be able to do a comparative analysis of how the wildlife is actually different 1,000 kilometers away from each other in the Labrador Sea.
And how are these sitting just on flat beds, or is this kind of on cliff's edges? What's the terrain at the ocean floor like?
We're very fortunate in the sense that it's a fairly solid sandy bottom.
Oh, wow.
Therefore, the debris does stay on the surface, and we can see some portholes where essentially the hull has decayed, but we can still see the imprint of the portholes, the metal elements. So it's superb in terms of preservation.
That's fantastic. It's fascinating. I can't wait to look for the stuff from the Terra Nova. The only full disclosure, as far as my history goes, the only reason I know of the Terra Nova is because of Robert Scott and the Antarctica expedition, and of course Terra Nova. I mean, when it's a namesake to the province's name, that kind of adds that extra. Well, it kind of flipped it to the front of my history book, obviously for good reasons. How many people are on the expedition with you, Antoine?
Aboard the Atlantis were about 60 people. So it's a mixture of crew to make sure the operations are running smoothly, as well as a team of scientists. And then we have, of course, the team of the submersible, the Alvin, which allows us to do manned dives to the wrecks, and the ROV team. So that's a remotely operated vehicle that we use for mapping the wrecks.
And it sounds like you're getting better weather than we are in both of those sites. I mean, you seem to hit it well up there, and with the Quest as well. And when does it conclude again?
So we have a few more days on station here on the Terra Nova, and then we will start making our way down to Woods Hole again and during the middle of the week, and we should be back in Woods Hole a week later. So I would say by midweek next week, we should be back in Woods Hole and Cape Cod. And
this is really like a Royal Canadian Geographical Society expedition, but you got a lot of private donors and philanthropy and other things helping you along. Anyone of note? Anything like linked to this province that's assisting with it directly?
So we did partner with Memorial University during our previous expedition to the Quest. Now this time around, because of the amount of equipment that was required and the necessity of manned dives, we partnered with Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution and out of Cape Cod due to their extensive knowledge of such operations. So this time around, we are partnering with Woods Hole, but that's correct. It's a Royal Canadian Geographical Society expedition. And we do have philanthropists who are supporting our expedition in essentially achieving our mandate to make Canada a better world to Canadians and the world.
Where would you be without philanthropy? People who are so devoted to these sorts of causes and the importance of documenting, and as you said, getting good digital 3D images of all of these, restoring, keeping it before they're lost, right? Because they don't last. These vessels aren't going to last forever, as you've noticed, I'm sure.
You are absolutely correct. So that's why it's absolutely fascinating and important, the work that we're doing here to document these wrecks, and we're documenting them for posterity, for future generations.
Fantastic. It's great work. I appreciate you making time for our program today. I love it. Throw this in the middle of everything else today. That's why we call it the Potpourri Show. So, well, at least I do. Antoine, Norman, Dan, I really appreciate this. As I said, look forward to the images when you get them all spiffy and glossed up and release them to the public. Good luck and safe travels.
Thank you.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go right to line number, let me see if I can get this right. Line number 6, and Gary, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian.
How are you?
Very good. Beautiful morning.
Yes, bye. How's the business?
Yeah. Brian, I wrote a letter to the provincial government a while ago regarding the underground economy and the effect it's having on small business. Not only the small business having an effect on it, it's having an effect on our entire economy. We're losing millions of dollars
taxes,
in taxes, and all these. This tax money is meant, to support our hospital care, our seniors, our schools, and our highways, and it's on and on. It's money we're just throwing away because we haven't got the interest to stop this underground economy.
And Gary, COVID, I was just going to say, I notice it so much on social media. I mean, the people that are just offering services on social media, I don't know if these are businesses or if they're collecting HST or what,
Yeah, we've received phone calls in my own company from people who says, how come you're advertising on social media? And we go in on the system and check, they're using our trade name with a different number to get business. For all small business out there, listen, we contribute workers' comp, unemployment insurance, and many health benefits, vacations, and we just look after our employees and they're guaranteed a job. But if these people are going to take the work away from us, small companies, they're just going to give up and say enough is enough.
Yeah, there's odd jobs and that kind of thing, Gary. But we're talking about, like you're in the automotive business. What do you specifically see, and how do you see people getting around it?
Beg pardon?
I said, well, you see odd jobs and that sort of thing. People will, just get a bit of painting done or this, that, and the other thing. But you're in the car automotive business. I'm just wondering what you're seeing. How blatant? Give me an example, say.
Well, what we're seeing is that we have people coming in who had work done previously on the black market. And they're coming in saying, we have a problem, or I have a problem, or I need this vehicle inspected. I had to work done somewhere else because I had it done cheap. And we got to turn them away and say, listen, we cannot pass this vehicle. It's not done right.
Whoa.
There's a reason for having a certification. I've been in this industry now for 60 years, and I've seen it all. And since COVID, when COVID started, it changed the whole business community, not only for the automotive industry, for the carpenter, for the plumber, for the electrician, and so on. Mm-hmm. A lot of people went and decided, well, I'm going to go to work for myself now. Okay, well, you go to work for yourself. I don't mind you going to work for yourself. I appreciate that. I went to work for myself, and I created the business, and I pay taxes, and that's a part of what it should be. But when it's gone the other way, it's gone too far the other way now. And if we want to get our society back to where it should be, we're going to have to implement, measures to do that. And that's the responsibility of our provincial government.
And the measures being just tighter reins on the underground market. How do you go about doing it?
How?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the only way to do it is to, you know, if I go back 20 years ago, look, there's someone reading it there now. If we go back 20 years ago, you had to have your certificate for your trade,
Right.
and in order to have a business, and that's the way it should be. That guarantees the general public that you're paying for quality.
Right.
You're not just paying for, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, so we need to get the trade registrations back in place for all the trades, not just automotive, for plumbing, for electrical, for carpenters, and for everything. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah, it's arguably, and you're not the first person to say it's become pretty lax, but I guess the enforcement is the hardest part, isn't it? I mean, you know, we can make all the rules and laws and you know, requirements for whatever it is. As you said, you know, your Red Seal. We have commercials, you know, talk about professional engineers. You know, they're held accountable. They have a reporting system. You know, I mean, it's probably on all of us in some little way to try to report and try to keep it as non-lax as possible. But we know it all happens. It's just a fine line. They just don't have the enforcement capabilities to be able, like everything. There's not enough police to stop every infraction on a road or on the highway. And there's hardly enough inspectors out there to do proper house inspections. We know that. There's a shortage of those. There's a shortage of everything.
Well, you know, you made a very valid point here. The reason for that we don't have those people is we haven't got the money to pay them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, if we can get our business community together, and you know, everybody's paying their fair share of taxes, we could supply more of those services. But you know, if the money is not there, it's never going to be provided. You know, those services will never be there.
It would be interesting, Gary, and I don't know. I remember back over the years doing various stories on the underground economy. Every now and then, you know, we'd have a ballpark number of what the province was losing in revenue to it year to year. I can't remember what, you know, back in the day, you know, they'd peg it at several million or whatever it might be. I wonder, is there a more accurate number today? Have you heard anything? And have you made any kind of representations, formal representations to any officials or government?
No, I haven't heard anything from the government, you know, and I don't know. To be fair, I mean, they got a lot on their plate as well.
True enough.
I'm hoping that they will get the opportunity just to review the letter and you know, make some sort of a statement regarding it. You know, it's business like mine and others that support, like VOCM and other media outlets. You know, we always supported them in the past. And, you know, it was essential to the community.
Yeah.
I mean, if everybody draws the money away from the VOCM or NTV or whatever the case may be, you have it closed. And we don't have that service. You know, you wouldn't be able to provide this kind of a service if the backing wasn't there from the commercial or from the business community.
Gary, I appreciate you taking time from the busy business you got going on there, and seagulls and all. You got them all coming in today. Thanks for the call. And listen, if you get any kind of response to your letter to the Premier, which I'm reading here right now, you know, it's short and to the point and succinct, and it makes the points that you've just made. Whether it's the loss of HST, workers' comp, you know, funding, Canada pension, EI, you name it. If you do get a response, or even if you don't, let me know.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Ryan. And you know, like I say, yes, we will get feedback. There'll be negative and there'll be positive, but hopefully there'll be a small amount of positive in there, and we can make a difference in our community.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thanks, Gary, and for all the good work you did on my parents' vehicle over the years.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
And welcome back. And yes, lots of reaction, lots of messages to me in the open line email, you know, wondering where the minister is on this. Again, the lines are right here. This is the place if you want to not let it fester anymore and just explain what happened. I'm not, you know, I just want an explanation. I'm not rushing to judgment. I have no idea. People are talking about literacy and all these other things and wardrobe. I don't care. I think the only way to solve this is for the minister who should be able to speak publicly right here now, or whether it's over there in France, just about this. Just tell us what happened. Maybe an explanation would be a really good start. So the rest of it, the festering and all the other things going on in the background and the speculation can just be hushed, and then we can just move on from there. An explanation, and then we can decide ourselves, the correct course of action here. Lots of people looking for resignations. I mean, look, from who? The minister or the premier? The premier has dropped the ball just as much as the minister on this, not giving it its due and the respect it deserves. So, okay, just letting you know I'm getting the emails and I'm getting the message loud and clear. Let's go to line number 1. And Jim, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning. Name is Jim Shouse up in Labrador.
Yes, Jim.
There was a great preamble you had there. I really enjoyed that, but I'm going to change the topic just a little bit.
Yes, sir. That's the nature of Open Line. You go right ahead.
Okay, I want to talk about the new regulations for the upcoming 2027 black bear hunting in the province.
Sure.
Now, apparently, in the hunting and fishing guide, it's stated that for 2027 there's going to be some changes, and the changes is that hunters are going to be limited to only being able to purchase 2 licenses per hunter. So you'll be able to harvest 4 bears. Now, very, very few people, hardly anyone harvested 4 bears. Most people, when they buy a license, they don't even harvest 1. And it's not because, they don't try or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe they just like to have a license with them if they got a cabin so that they can shoot a bear or something.
Yeah.
But I'm a commercial hunter, trapper. I think that the trappers up in Labrador, because we have such a huge landmass, so few hunters, so few people, the regulations should remain status quo. And when I say status quo, I should just let your listeners know that presently that if I want to get 2 bears, I buy 1 license. If I want to get 4 bears, I just purchase another license, and on and on and on. So I can get, I suppose, as many licenses as I want. Now, there's only a couple guys in all of Labrador, and you got to realize how big Labrador is, that take advantage of this, because black bears are so hard to clean. There's so much work to it, so little return. Maybe the same return you'd get for skinning a pine marten, which is a little animal, not much, about the size of a squirrel you'd see on the lawn in Ottawa. Those little bigger squirrels.
Yeah.
So it's a hell of a lot of work. Nobody wants to do it, but it does supplement the trappers' income. So, and the reason the wildlife are giving that they're cutting these licenses back as a so-called precautionary measure, not that there's an issue, is because people aren't sending their returns back in. Now, I talked to the wildlife when I emailed them, and they returned my email the first time. They won't return my emails anymore. I said, look, if there's more incentive for people to fill in their returns, I'm sure they get a lot more returns in. But right now, I think all you get is a patch or something like that. After you get so many patches, well, it sort of loses its luster. If they took these returns and had a draw, put their name in a hat for a drum of gas or something that a trapper or hunter could use, I think they'd get more returns. And even if they don't get the returns, why don't they call people in different areas and ask them, about the population of black bears in their area? You're not going to find this out sitting in an office in St. John's. I mean, you got to talk to the guys that are out there in the field.
Yeah, and the returns, you mean, so, the licenses you're not using for the black bear that you didn't get, right?
Yes.
And not keeping
when you fill in the returns,
yep.
I guess it's the same as maybe a moose return. They'll ask you did you see any other animals out there? And so that gives them a good means of
good feedback from the people on the who are on the tundra, who are out there.
Yeah, the people are out there. Now, I don't know the situation down in Newfoundland, but I know, there's an awful lot of hunters down there compared to up here, and they don't have the land mass. But we've got the bears up here. Let us utilize them. And look, let's get this straight. It doesn't mean going out and shooting bears indiscriminately when the fur is no good. There's a month in the spring when the fur is good and it's valuable. These hunters know that, and that's when they take these bears. That's when they harvest them.
What can you get? So, what can a hunter get for a good fur and where? And where's the market?
Well, the market right now seems to be at the only auction house left in Canada, and that's Fur Harvesters Auction. And I'll tell you right now that I am the agent in Labrador for Fur Harvesters Auction. So I know how many bears come into me because all the trappers have to send their fur into me. I ship it on to North Bay in Ontario at Fur Harvesters, and they sell it. So I know how many bears come in. Very few.
How many came in last year, Jim?
Oh, my goodness. Maybe 35. 35 bears for the full year out of a place the size of Labrador. It's being underutilized.
Yeah, and the population is estimated around 10,000, roughly?
I would imagine. That's not management. To me, that's mismanagement.
Well,
you got to go.
I mean, they should be, for starters, with your conduit with the fur industry. And I mean, are you in any way in a regular sort of liaison or contact with the department? I mean, the knowledge that you have, obviously, from...
No, I'm not. They don't ask me for advice. But look, I am in contact with every community from Nain down to the Southern Straits, Central Labrador, where I live, and Church Falls, Labrador West. I talk to these hunters, and these guys are out there. They're on the land all the time, whether it's on snowmobile or in the summer it might be in boat, or I guess, there's limited road access. But, I know what's out there.
Yeah, well, look, what's the immediate ask here? It sounds like it's as much on the hunters as it is on the department as far as people with their returns and giving accurate information,
Well, look, if you want to go just by the returns, sure, I think maybe people should send in the returns, but there should be more incentive to do that. If they really want, information from the hunters, when the guy buys his license, maybe his phone number or email should be on there. And if he doesn't send in his return, and maybe a few won't, but they'll forget or something like that, have someone in the department call these fellows and find out if they were successful. I mean, what's going to happen next? If we don't send in our moose returns, I mean, are they going to cut out the moose hunt up here? Look, we got no outfitters up here. The only way to keep the bears in check are by these few individuals that might want to get some bears to sell. So. Just had a phone call come in and
that's okay.
Lost my train of thought.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I've been there. Anyway, Jim, look, I'll give you a minute to wrap up. But what's the next step here? What would you like to see happen?
Well, look, because like I said, I don't know the situation in Newfoundland. Newfoundland is different, but you got to realize that Labrador is a different place. I suggest that they keep the status quo for Labrador. Because I can't speak for Newfoundland. I'll let the guys down there. I mean, they can fight for themselves.
And the status quo being 2 black bear per license, right?
2 black bear license,
okay.
and the fact that you can buy as many licenses as you want. It's not going to harm the population. The place is being overrun by bears. The bears are being shot indiscriminately by cabin owners, by wildlife officials because they're in the communities and things like that. And these bears are just dumped. They aren't being used.
And if you don't use the license, report it, as you said, in your return and to say what you're seeing, I guess.
Yeah,
just better reporting.
No, we're paying good money for these licenses. It's income. It's income for the province. We claim our fur money, or at least I do. So I'm paying taxes on it, so let us continue doing it as we have in the past.
I asked you earlier too. I don't know if you mentioned it or said it after, but what do you get for a good fur these days?
Well,
like in the good time of the year.
Okay, you want to talk about average.
Yeah.
I guess an average would be better than a top,
sure.
Correct?
Yeah, absolutely, right, across the board.
Yeah, okay, let's say $200. $200 for it's going to cost you, it'll take you a couple of days to skin it, to flesh it, to dry it. It's a lot of work. Not everyone is doing it. Nobody wants to do it. But the few people that, enjoy doing it, should be allowed to do it.
Sure.
Until, if there's a problem, we'll change it when there's a problem. But there's no problem. I can't see any problem even in the distant future. I mean, there's just so many bears out here.
Well, it's out there, and wildlife, anyone who has any other thoughts on it, this is the venue for it. It's first kind of a conversation I've had on the issue, as far as just, real no threat to the resource. Let's just open it up a little more, given the numbers. And again, given the harvest, the take that you said, 35 isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things. So I leave it open to wildlife and yourself to keep you posted on if there's any change to it, if they entertain any change to it.
Yes, indeed. Well, it's I don't know if it's past legislation or not. If it can be changed, but to me, this is not the way to manage our resources, whether it's black bears or any other species up here. Well, you got to get more say from the people that are involved.
Well, the Minister Forsey or someone could speak to that. I mean, like you said, if it's not, it's just if it's not a resource issue. The question is, it could just be an easy tweak from year to year. I don't know, but I leave that to the officials to fill me in.
Okay, good. I'm glad you took my call. Thanks.
Absolutely, Jim. Glad you made it. Thanks so much for starting off the show on a good note. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go right to line number 5. And Gary, you're on the air. Or Greg, sorry, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Brian. How you doing?
Hey, Greg, sorry about that. I made a mistake. And the explanation was I was speaking to Gary just before you, so sorry about that.
Not a problem. Brian, I'm very pleased this morning to hear you during your preamble, to bring this to light and to hear it from someone who has been there, seen it, heard it. I was overwhelmed with emotion, and because I was thinking that maybe this is, not so important. But as your last emailer just stated that, we're all human, absolutely. And I would say to that last emailer, take yourself out and be in the shoes of those soldiers on that ill-fated morning went over to the top at Beaumont Hamel. How would you feel? And Brian, I'm a veteran. I've paid attention to these veterans groups. I try to get a feel for what veterans are going through these days, things like that, and it became a very hot topic. And there was a lot of people very, very upset over it. Now, I want to put this in a veteran's lens. Veterans take this very, very seriously. Sorry, are you there?
Oh, yes. No, I'm listening. Go right ahead. I didn't want to interrupt.
Veterans take this very seriously. When I was in a battalion, 1st Battalion at Patricius, we learned about regimental history. We learned about the battles of and the VC winners and things like. We never learned this in our textbooks in school. And we have company smokers, on a Friday afternoon to get together to have a beer and to remember those battles. Not only those battles, but the people that fought in them. It's not lost on me. A friend of mine who was just returned from Beaumont Hamel sent me a picture of a gravestone there, 15 years old. And I'm like you, Brian. I try to take myself out when I go to a cenotaph or on Remembrance Day, whatever, and that I take myself out of my own body and I try to get into the head of those soldiers. What would possess them to leave home, to go away to a foreign land, and to fight for what? And I've been listening and I've been seeing some very, very discouraging stuff where this is not about Minister Barber, because the buck stops at the Premier's desk. And like I said, we take this very seriously. When we go out on parade, we're drilled. We're drilled, and we're drilled until it becomes muscle memory. We know what's coming. And Minister Barber should have had the same discipline, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm saying that it stops at Minister Wakeham's desk. He should have known. Now, he should have sent a better representative. Maybe Miss Evans would have been suited for the role, because they did honor a Inuit soldier, an Inuit sniper there. She's very passionate.
That's right. And there was great representation for Indigenous peoples there. There were smudging ceremonies and other that went on at the time, 2 or 3 different speeches that were specific to that in Shiwak and the contributions of the Indigenous peoples to the war as well. And some might suggest the Premier should have been there.
Absolutely. This is one of these things where was the Premier? Well, he was out west, and I would say he was very prepared to meet with business people during that time. He was very well rehearsed in what he was going to say or who he was going to meet. So this is not about Miss Barber being a dyslexic, or we all seen her videos that she's very colorful. I think she fits the role. I honestly do. She's a very vibrant person for the arts community. And you know what? Seriously, I miss her cooking videos, Newfoundland cooking videos. Sure. This is not an attack on her. And people had to stop. From a veteran's point of view, when we're told to go to battle or to fight, we don't look in our wallet and see which political party we're affiliated with. That's nonsense. That's just nonsense. Mm-hmm. We don't care. All we care about is our brothers and sisters coming home alive and fighting for the very values that we have today. So I want people to take pause, because for a veteran, remembrance is 365 days a year, not just a day. So, I think the minister had ample time, and I think Jill said it. Was it Jill a few callers back?
Maybe Jen. I think it was Jen Dion, maybe?
Jen, sorry, yes. It was Jen who said it perfectly, that she should have had an aide to go over this till it became muscle memory. And yes, we all get nervous, and we all stumble over words. And that is human. That is, but not to pronounce a word on a battleground where our soldiers lie is not excusable. Veterans were very upset over this, and and I tried to bring calm, saying that this probably be a learning experience, but you don't learn on the fly. Mm-hmm. This should have been taken care of before that plane touched down in France. There's a couple of things about public speaking that we have to say, that know your subject and know your audience. And in this case, I don't think either one was very well paid attention to.
Yeah, it's a lest we forget moment, Greg. I mean, look, I saw some comments. One comment that was on our morning show, I think it was a voicemail or an email that was sent in, somebody out west who said, "What a nothing burger." I mean, it could not be. That cannot be a Newfoundlander. I mean, any Newfoundlander knows this wasn't a nothing burger. This wasn't a ribbon cutting or a marketing announcement in downtown. This was Beaumont Hamel on July 1st. Right. I just want to remind people, lest we forget.
A whole generation was wiped out in a matter of minutes. And I think nearly every Newfoundland community was affected by that. And I think Newfoundlanders should, sometimes take the head out of their sand. And it happened 110 years ago, but it didn't happen just in one day. It happens 365 days a year where we give homage to our veterans. As a young soldier at the age of 18 in battle school, trying to get inside of some of these guys, you know, like thinking that 15 years old, getting ready to go over to the top, there'll be a few lumps in my throat and a few lumps in other places in my body as well. And I've been in some scary situations where I would reflect back on, this is one of these moments where I want my mommy. And that's not lost to me.
No.
It's not lost to the veterans. It's not, and you know, listening to civilians go on about the attacks that were attacking her on her disability. Well, you know what? Everything right now is speculation.
Exactly.
Because we don't know.
I don't know, and I wish I did.
Know.
And Greg, look,
I wish I did too.
It's. You know, I mean, I walked those graves, around those graves down at the base of the hill where the Germans had set up, with a lot of Gonzaga students, young, you know, 15, 16-year-olds that were looking at these gravestones and looking at the names and looking at the ages themselves. And, you know, my grandfather would have been one of them if he hadn't been wounded about 2 months beforehand. He would have been there. He was with the 1st Battalion, Newfoundland Regiment. That's why it was such a seminal, incredibly sacrosanct moment for me, for our family, for my daughter, for my nephew. And I ended up going away thinking about this. And again, it's not, I know there's people out there who, you know, they're not war people. Nobody loves war, you know, and they're not even military people. They're not military people, and they just shun it. They say, oh, they have no time for Remembrance Day and all that. I understand that side of it. I really do, if you have no connection. But this is a part of our ingrained history, right? So it's not like something we can brush off as a flub at an announcement here. This should have been better done, and I just want to know why it wasn't. That's it.
Absolutely. You know, the people, the naysayers, people who think that this is about political things like that, it's nonsense. Now, God forbid. There comes a time that we need our soldiers to fight. Now, I have lost many a friend, either through battle in Afghanistan or through their own minds. You know, I take that every day. It's very, very, very seriously. You know, I remember my first friend that I lost in a training accident, and I pay homage to him every day. And that was nearly 30 years ago. So remembrance is not a daily. It's not a once off a year. And to hear Minister Barber, I believe that was ill prepared for it. But you know, we all stumble over the words and everything. But I would hold Mr. Wakeham to account on this one. He's the leader. You know, he's the one. Whether he just thought that, you know, you can handle it, but he knows his ministers. And that's why she was appointed as a minister in his cabinet, because he has to know. And he didn't know what he was doing in this. And he's the one who should be accountable for this. And he's the one who should be on air on VOC and Open Line explaining himself and apologizing to us veterans, not only to us veterans, but to the families who lost their boys during that battle. Because they were just boys.
Loud and clear, Greg. And I welcome either the minister or the premier. It's still crickets. No comment whatsoever. You know, the thinking in political circles is this too shall pass. People will move on. I don't think so, but that's just me.
Well, this is on sat. What we say in the military, this is on sat. We have a hot wash up or whatever after everything we do to explain or to find out what we could do better during that, you know, exercise or whatever was on the go. But the premier was elected, and he's responsible for these ministers. And I believe that, you know, Ms. Barber should rest easy, thinking that this is not an attack about her. Veterans are angry at her, yes, but they're more upset with Mr. Wakeham and the radio silence that has gone on for days and days and days. And he must be thinking that, well, you know, this should, you know, it's going to blow over.
That's usually
blow over for a veteran.
That's usually the calculation, and you know, a statement for me, statements plural from both, you know, it just doesn't cut it. Thanks, Greg. I got to get off to the news. I appreciate the call. I really do.
I really appreciate you keeping this alive, and thank you for making the homage over there to pay the respects to the soldiers that died on that day.
Thank you, Greg.
Very much.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Okay, last caller of the morning, Linda. I wanted to squeeze you in. Sorry you were waiting there for so long. Thank you for your patience. Go for it. I got a couple of minutes.
Okay, I'm going to say this as fast as I can.
I'm sorry about that.
Not as fast as I can, but
yeah.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that I really feel for Andrea, our tourism minister. Or how it works now with the policies and the communications director. But when I was working with the Department of Tourism, I was there for over 20 years, and I was one of the supervisors at one of our historic sites. And our site was awarded a big award from Ottawa, and the department didn't have any of the headquarters. They were busy doing something else to go and accept the award on behalf of our site and of course our province, and it was pretty nerve-wracking to say the least. And so I had a 1 minute thank you to say thank you for the award, and I couldn't go over and I couldn't go under without a second or so. And I was working with the communications director. She made sure that everything that I said was good, and we went over my 1 minute thing several times. So I'm wondering if any of that had taken place with Andrea, because I know how nerve-wracking it can be to be standing in front of a crowd, especially with her position, being the Minister of Tourism. That's a big thing.
Absolutely, Linda. And I said all that off the top. Like, again, my key thing here is I was there, I was embarrassed, I was confused. I don't know why it happened. I just want to know why and how, and whether a communications official did help or didn't help, or where it went off the rails. I don't know if this was Minister Barber's fault. I don't care about whose fault it was. It was very offensive to all of us who were there. That's it. And I'm not trying to make a bigger deal of it than it is. People now playing the bully card. People saying to me, oh, if it was a man, it wouldn't. I'm sorry. If it was a man, if it was an alien and they did it wrong, I would be talking about the same way and wondering if an alien were the minister, they'd be getting the same treatment. Anyway, look, Lynn, I'm sorry for the short shift at the end, but thank you for the call.
No, that's fine. I was just wondering if there's still a communications director, and had she or he done their job, or if there was any confusion in that area. It's just something that I'd like to see.
Yeah, no, I crossed paths before the event happened. I crossed paths with the minister's communications people on the way to the actual site, on the site. So they were there. Anyway, thank you again for the call.
Yeah, I was just wondering what happened in that area.
Yep. No, I just want to find out what happened too. Thank you.
And you're doing a great show. Thank you.
Oh, appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Okie dokie, that'll do it. And what a show it was. First day back. Whew. I'm going to start vacation tomorrow. No, just kidding. Sarah, I got a grin. Thanks, everyone, for all the calls. Drive safely, arrive alive. VOCM cares.